All right, guys, welcome back to the workbench. It is great to have you here at the professional amateur table. This is going to be part 2 on our series of knowing your AR. If you watched the last video, we finished our lower receiver here. It's fully functional, it works great. So we're going to get into the upper receiver. Now, there are a few tools that aren't on the table that you're going to need for the upper receiver, or one that I can really think of, and it's a vice block. Now, you can get these anywhere, Brownells, Midway, whatever, wherever you get gun parts from. You can get a vice block for an AR-15 upper, and what that is a block that goes around your upper receiver so you can put it in a vise and tighten it down and torque your barrel. Always look up the torque specs for your barrel. Good and tight's not going to work. Just make sure you look up the specs for your barrel, because you do not want any type of malfunctions whatsoever. And this is kind of a video that's more of suggestions, because there are a lot of different upper receivers, a lot of different configurations, a lot of different barrel configurations, gas system configurations. You've got direct impingement, you've got piston drive, but on this one we're going to be doing a 7.5-inch pistol upper with direct impingement. So the things that you're going to need for that build are, one, the upper receiver, of course. You are going to need your barrel. This one is a 7.5-inch 223 Wild stainless barrel. I'm not sure of the twist on that one. 1 in 7 twist. This is your gas tube and roll pin. This is your gas block. Muzzle device, which this is just a regular birdcage A2 flash hider. This is your dust cover, and pin for your dust cover, and this small circlamp right here to hold it in. This is your forward assist, charging handle, and your bolt carrier group. All right, let's zoom through getting this stuff unpacked, and we'll go ahead and get started. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and get started. Now, the first thing I like to do is an either or. Either I like to put the dust cover on first, or I like to do the forward assist first. There's really no rhyme or reason to which you do first, as long as you don't try to do your dust cover last. The issue you're going to run into there is once you, oh, the barrel nut. I forgot about the barrel nut. Give me just a second. I did not mention the barrel nut. So once you get your barrel nut on, which will go here, and you get your handguard on, your handguard is going to butt up to about right there, and you're not going to be able to slide that pin in. So yes, most definitely do not do the dust cover last. So that's why I like to get it out of the way first. So we'll go ahead and get the dust cover on. The only really aggravating part about this is the spring. The dust cover has this this spring here. Let's see, there's a groove on one side for the circlamp, and that's right here. So what we're going to do is put it in this way. The circlamp the handguard is going to keep it from going forward. The circlamp is going to keep it from working its way back. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started with the upper. We're going to do the dust cover first, just like we said. So we're going to start from this side, go into the dust cover. The dust cover is held open, so you want the spring tension to hold it open. So this long part of the spring, you know, you've got the small piece here and the longer piece here. This is going to be up against your dust cover that way. So what I like to do is go ahead and get my pin started inside the spring, just a bit. Go ahead and twist the spring, the end of the spring, clockwise, and slide it the rest of the way through. All right, so you've got your spring tension on there. So now we will take the circlamp that goes in this groove here. Let me show it to you. The circlamp that goes into that groove there. And this circlamp is really small, but if you can get it started and just press it on with a punch, it becomes much easier than, you know, trying to spread it and put it on there. So let me just grab a small punch here. All right, so the circlamp is on there. And once the handguard is on, it'll keep the pin from going forward. And of course, this circlamp keeps the pin from going backward. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do is the forward assist. Now, I like to come in from the bottom with the roll pin because I don't like to take the chance of marring up the top. It's just it's aesthetics. So this forward assist, as you can see, it's detented on one side here. That is where the pin is actually going to go through, and the pin is going to catch right here. And we'll go over the theory of it once we get it installed. You know what, just so we can all see, and so it will be easier, let's go in from the top. Why not? Hey, I've got a fly that decided it wanted to join. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, man. Okay, just so it'll be a little easier, we'll go in from the top. We'll go ahead and get this guy started. Oh, come on. You liberal. Okay, there we go. All right, so we'll put this guy in with the groove facing to the inside. Yeah. And maybe I can get it started with just the hammer without hitting my upper too many times. All right, it's started. All right, let's see if we can go all the way through with it. Wow, okay. All right, that works. All right, so now we've got our dust cover, we've got our forward assist, and okay, so explaining the forward assist, on the side of your bolt carrier group, you've got teeth. So let's just say you're in a situation where you wanted to be really quiet about sliding your bolt forward. See if I can get it to open the dust cover for me. There we go. All right, so you wanted to be, oh great, really quiet about sliding your bolt forward. So if you slowly slid your bolt forward and didn't let it slide forward, and say it didn't go all the way into battery, you press your forward assist and it will grab those teeth on the side of that bolt carrier group and slide it on home for you. Okay. All right, so what are we gonna do next? Let's put the gas block on the barrel next. So we'll go ahead and set that aside. All right, so on the barrel, you've got this small hole in the top of it, and it should line up with your indexing key here. All right, so what happens when a round goes down the chamber? You've got an explosion that happens here in the throat of the barrel, all right, and your projectile gets to right here, and all of the gases that are behind the projectile are routed via this gas tube here back into your receiver, into the snorkel of your bolt carrier group, and it pushes your bolt back. That's what cycles your bolt. That's called direct impingement. So we're gonna go ahead and put this guy on there. I think we should go ahead and try to put the pin in first. So you've got two holes in your gas tube. The one in the very end goes all the way through. It's a very small hole, but you can see it there. It goes all the way through. And you have another one that just goes into the bottom. And that's the one that your gas is routed through. So, of course, this goes down. And if you look inside your gas tube, there's a hole there as well. So this goes down. And really the easiest way to do this is, you see that daylight through that hole? Slide this into your gas block. You'll see that hole gets blacked out. And there we go, we have daylight again. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the pin driven into there. And if you wanted to double check, you could always look in the other side after you get your roll pin started. Now these roll pins, these are, if you ever do anything different with your rifle, if you're gonna replace your gas block or anything like that, please do not reuse your roll pin. They're cheap, they're not hard to find, and just replace it, because that's definitely a part of your rifle that you do not want to fail. It will cause all kinds of malfunctions, and it is really hard to diagnose unless you know exactly what you're looking for. On your failure to eject, failure to feed, things such as that, you know, your length of travel is one thing to look at, but your gas system is always something that's going to cause an issue like that. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and drive this guy home. Yep, we are all lined up. All right, so there we are. All right, that's in there. We can go ahead and test the airflow by putting our finger here and blowing into it. Let's see, how do I do this with a camera in front of my face? Okay, so we've got airflow through the tube, so that part is good. All right, so now that we've got our gas tube and gas block assembled, we're gonna go ahead and mount the barrel. So we're gonna need our barrel nut, which goes on like so. And this has an indexing hole in the top. We're gonna index right here. And that should be very tight. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a small amount of grease right here. Just a little bit of spray silicone lube. And this is one of the things we are gonna need the vise block for. To torque that barrel. All right, so next that's gonna go on is our gas tube and gas block. There is a hole in the top of the receiver that gas tube goes into. Maybe I should loosen off on these a bit. There we go. That looks to be straight for the most part. And then after we get our gas block tightened up, we'll go ahead and put our muzzle device on the end. This is a crush washer or an indexing washer. Put the crush washer on the end of the barrel, put your muzzle device on. These are 1/2 inch 28, I guess, I think. 1/2 inch 28, isn't that right? All right, this is another thing we'll need our vise block for. So once we get this into the vise, it clamps around here. We'll go ahead and torque our barrel nut, and we'll also index our muzzle device. This muzzle device has vents on it, on the top, and on the bottom it doesn't. So you want these vents right here at 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock. So that way when the gas comes out of the end of the firearm, then the gas here is directed upward, and it really decreases muzzle rise, so it acts as a compensator there. All right, so that's it there. What's next? The handguard. All right, so let's go ahead and get the handguard. All right, so for this handguard, the screws that clamp it onto the barrel nut are Torx. So you do need a set of Torx wrenches, or I do need a set of Torx wrenches for this one. But like I said, these things, they come in so many different configurations. This is just very basic. So this is a compression fitting, so it is gonna take a little bit of force to get it on the barrel nut. All right, and check your alignment up top. It looks like I'm a little off. There we go. And one side of these is going to be threaded, the other side is going to be smooth. And it looks like this is the threaded side here. So we will go ahead, put these in on this side. And get our Torx wrench. It's going to be that one. No, of course I'm not going to choose the right one the first try. So it's going to be this one. So what are we going to name this gun? I like to name my firearms. Let's see. This one, based on a story I heard yesterday, her name is going to be Esmeralda. And no, it wasn't the Hunchback story. This was a different story of a guy trolling Instagram. But if it's funny enough, I'm sure you'll hear about it. And no, I don't just do female names. I have one pistol named Bob. Now, like I said, this is a compression fitting, so as you tighten one, the other will loosen. So just keep alternating back and forth on these free float style hand guards. All right, and the last thing we've got to do is put in our bolt carrier group and charging handle. So if you'll notice, this charging handle has got ears on the end of it. Let's see. You see, it's got little swells on it right there. Well, those actually slide down into those swells right there that you can see in the top of the upper receiver. So we'll put this guy in here until it slides down into those swells. And there we go. And then we'll make sure our bolt is extended. That's retracted. That's extended. So just sling it one good time. Put your snorkel inside your gas key. I call it a snorkel because it looks like a snorkel. Look at it. You remember that cartoon, The Snorks? Oh, there we go. And that should just go forward just like that. And this is not lubricated. We're going to go over that next, I promise. So this is our upper. This is our lower. And we're going to take the takedown pins out here and here. All right, you remember when I said I was going to explain why I trimmed that spring? You see how hard that was to press? If I hadn't have trimmed the spring, I would have had to use a punch to press that. So I don't like having to use a punch when it comes to cleaning my firearm. There we go. It works. Okay. So there's Esmeralda. And step over here and grab a magazine. Make sure my bolt hold open works. So we will lock it to the rear by pressing that. Slide the magazine in. Press the bolt release. Pull it back and it should stay. All right, so when I was talking about the indexing on the buffer in the previous video, if I had have screwed that in any more, you see how the bolt is just flush with the rear of the ejection port? It would have actually been right about there. And you run the risk of not being able to eject or feed if it doesn't come back far enough. All right, so we now have a completed pistol, and we're going to talk about lubrication points. So I'm going to be using rim oil just because it's very quick and easy, but I recommend a CLP like Break Free. They make a good CLP. So the first thing I like to do is make sure my trigger group is lubricated. To keep it from feeling like a gritty Glock trigger. All right. The next thing is my buffer tube. Now this isn't something I do extremely often, but I mean a buffer acts a lot like a piston. It works back and forth, so you want to make sure that you have some lube down in there. And let's see if this is, yes, this buffer tube has the hole pre-drilled in the end, which is great. I don't have to drill it. Some of them don't come with that hole pre-drilled, so you get some pressure that builds up in here and it doesn't want to cycle right. All right, and the next thing is gonna be our upper receiver. There's no method to this madness. Just spray the inside of it or lube the inside of it. The top of our charging handle. And I like to run with a very wet bolt. I want my bolt to be extremely lubricated. But before we do that, we're going to go over the components of the bolt carrier group. I'm sorry. So to break down your bolt carrier group, you've got a small cotter pin here. Now this is new, so I don't expect it to be too terribly easy. I may have to grab a hold of it with these. Oh, where did that go? Okay, so that is your bolt retaining pin or clip, or however you want to say it. Oh, I'm sorry, firing pin retainer. So now the firing pin should just come straight out, which it does. There's the firing pin. Now to get your bolt out, you have to put it in the retracted, spin this 90 degrees, and pull it out. And your bolt just comes out. So yeah, this has some factory Cosmoline on it. I'm gonna put some good lube on that, and also check my piston rings, and none of them are aligned. There are 3 rings on here. You see a gap and a ring there, a gap there, and a gap there. That is your gas seal on your buffer, or I'm sorry, on your bolt. So I'll go ahead and get this lubed up. And when you put it back in, you know, that hole goes straight through. So how do you know which side the hole goes on? Well, this, let's see if I can move it so you can see it. It's under spring tension, but one side is your extractor. This piece right here is your extractor. Well, your extractor goes towards your ejection port. So that's gonna be on that side. So put this back in. Rotate it back 90 degrees. Extend the bolt. Put the firing pin in. All the way, preferably. Why is that not going in there? There it goes. All right, firing pin in all the way. And then put your retainer pin back in. All right, there we go. And let's lube the exterior of the bolt. Top, bottom, all sides. All right, we'll put this back in our snorkel here. Sorry, I'm bumping the tripod. All right. And there you have it. Guys, I really want to thank you for stopping by and watching this video. If you haven't already, go ahead, like, subscribe, leave a comment, leave a suggestion. This isn't necessarily just a firearms channel. There are a lot of things that I'm going to be doing on here. I've got my hands in a lot of pies. I've got way too many hobbies. Music, I like to do a lot of cooking, welding projects. So anytime you get ready, stop by, see what else we've got to offer. And if somebody says you really shouldn't be doing that, tell them it's okay. I'm a professional, amateur.